of 2022. Please welcome your hosts for the evening from the Morning Extra, Tug Cowart and Scott Rhino.
Oh my goodness. And they play a country song for me. Of course, I sound like a big old hillbilly. I think they're taking a shot a little bit. Thank you so much for coming out to this legendary town hall. We've been talking about it for so long, and it's such a delight to be here and to see this place looking the way it does, and so many smiling faces and so many people who love the United States of America.
Yes.
And they love the state of Georgia, and they love where they live, and they want to support where they live, and they want to be a part of their community, and they want to do better, and they want to see better things be done.
Absolutely. A bunch of ultra MAGA extremists. You don't look that bad. I'm not that scared up here. No, guys, thank you so much. It's such an amazing thing to see all the people that are here tonight, because we started this less than a year ago, and the growth, but we knew at XTRA 106.3, we knew what the Dickey Broadcasting Company wanted to do was needed, especially in a state like Georgia, to have a conservative
That's
voice.
right. It's okay to clap, because you're exactly right.
To not be silenced, and we have the opportunity to kind of speak and tell our story, and we're not going to be silenced. I'm not going to be shadow banned anymore like we were on YouTube. They won't allow that. So it's always great to be doing this and talking to people and seeing your faces, and hopefully we'll get everybody out to vote, especially in November.
No doubt about it. It's been such a pleasure to see this thing grow and to see it develop into what it is, and to bring two incredible radio personalities that are legendary in the city of Atlanta in one room.
Yes. Neal Boortz.
The talk master, Neal Boortz, is here. And Kimmer is here too.
Yes.
Unbelievable to have these guys together, and it wouldn't have happened without the great sponsorships and the people that have supported XTRA 106.3 from the get-go, and that is Atlanta Safe House. Yes. Mark Brasfield and Jeff Stalkup from Atlanta Safe House. Three Bridges Financial Group, Tom Gandolfi, he does a show every weekend with me, and I'm delighted. He teaches me something all the time. He's trying to keep me out of bankruptcy, make sure I got enough money to retire on, which I so appreciate. Painting Plus, Charlie Dallaville.
Right over here. Hey.
That's the big guy over there. True Prep, which Rhino knows
where are my
really
guys
well.
from True Prep? I saw Matthew before there.
Matthew
Hey,
Deloach
there
and
he is.
Joey Smith, that's exactly right, and this amazing
Joey.
facility. Governor's Gun Club, thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Burt Brown.
How many of you guys have taken advantage of constitutional carry tonight? All right. We are literally in the safest room in America. I love it. Thank you. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much. Again, we're really going to have a good time. And I want to thank a bunch of other people. We have all the guys on the camera that have been helping out. The cameras, by the way, look, we wanted to live stream this, but we realized you guys paid to be here. So we are not live streaming it, but we are putting it out later. So basically, we're recording, nobody's watching. Kind of like CNN Plus. Nobody's watching. So don't worry about that.
Hopefully it will last a little longer than that, though. Goodness gracious.
Look, I'm just glad they're laughing.
That's right.
Yeah. No, we really appreciate it. And we appreciate everybody that's come out to support this as well. We have Neal King here along with Kelvin King.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much. And look, we believe in DEI also. Diversity, equity, inclusiveness. We invited an AJC writer. So we had them coming. Unfortunately, I don't know if they're here yet. We did ask Rodney Ho to come, but he had to write a story today about a millennial match game that Mark Arum was doing. So
that's right. Yeah, we got front office host Carlos Medina is here. Yes. He's going to do a segment, and that's going to be a whole lot of fun. But let's get things kicked off.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get things kicked off. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Fox News, Joey Jones.
That's a fine American right there.
Yes,
Howdy.
he is.
Buddy, thank you so much for being here. The thing about Joey is he and I are from the same hometown. We're from Dalton, Georgia, up in northwest Georgia. We both went to Southeast Whitfield High School, and we met, strangely, through Zach Brown and Camp Southern Ground. So it has been a delight to see his career just completely take off and blow up. How many people have seen him on Fox News Channel in here? Whole bunch. Thank you so much for coming, man. So delighted to have you
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. It's an honor to be here. Listen, if you ever want to know how amazing America is and what kind of opportunity it provides, 2 guys that graduated from Southeast Whitfield High School are on stage right now. That's a big deal.
That's right. Nobody would have expected it. Let me tell you, my math teacher would have told me that it's no way it's going to happen. Actually, the English teacher said that. My history teacher said, all of them, as a matter of fact, they all said that. But I want to talk about you, man, and some of the things that you've done. After graduation, you joined the Marine Corps, and I want you to tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, we got any veterans in the audience tonight? Hey,
Yes,
listen,
sir.
thank you for your service.
Thank you guys all. Thank you all.
We've got a lot of family members here. Thank you for your family service as well. It's, you know, kind of like the anecdote I just said, being from somewhere that's not known for producing important people and standing on stage in front of your fellow citizens, that's America. And that was me. My dad was brick and block mason. I did that long enough to know I didn't want to do it. I thought if I'm going to work that hard, I'm going to go wear a pretty uniform doing it. And so for those of you that raise your hand, those of you that were a Marine, you did it because of the uniform, right? That's exactly. So that's what I did. Hoorah.
Kimmer.
Marine Corps for 8 years, had one bad day. You're not going to believe this. I was a bomb tech in the Marine Corps, and I just was not that good at it. So I had a bad day doing it, recovered in D.C., and decided politics was something I could be involved in, mainly because I like to hear myself talk, and also because other people kind of liked hearing it every now and then, too. So, but all jokes aside, there's not much substance left after that, but all jokes aside, recovering at Walter Reed in 2010, seeing there was a lot of things that would be easy to fix if you could get people to listen and get in front of the right people to say it. And much to my own surprise, we were able to fix some of those things by just talking about it. And I thought, man, if we could bring, yeah, you clap for that because it doesn't happen very often. And if you can get something fixed in the bureaucracy of the military, then could you do it in other places too? And so I talk for a living now. That's what I do. But when I'm not talking on Fox, I work with a couple of veterans organizations. One of them actually brought me back here to Georgia, and you'd be surprised at how efficient you can get when you get as far away from somewhere like D.C. as you can. And so for the folks in the audience that would like to go there, my hat's off to you because I don't want to be back there anytime soon. I like living in Georgia and working in New York every now and then.
Here we go. Absolutely right. So it's a pleasure to have you. But let's talk about some of the things, Rhino, that are happening in our country and across the country that are problematic and have people worried and concerned.
Absolutely. I mean, Joey, I think we should start it off with, if President Trump was still president today, would Russia, Ukraine be a thing right now, in your opinion?
No, we start out with a really softball question.
Listen.
I heard somebody out there, they're like, no.
The most truthful answer to that is I don't know, and I'm not qualified to answer that. But as someone who lives in this country, has served it, votes, and is keyed in on the issues, I believe it would have been handled differently. My position for the longest in this Ukraine conflict is not to be so much an armchair quarterback of how things are happening, because we have to be honest and say there's a lot of things we're not privy to. If I'm at Fox reporting it on a Monday, it better have been resolved a week ago. We should have at least enough operational security to know that some of the decisions being made are being made in the context of things we don't get to know about. But however, what I can do is say, how in the hell did we end up here to begin with? Because I have to vote for either this man or whoever runs against him. And we have other issues on the horizon like China, like Taiwan. We have issues that are affecting us and shortages of supply chain that are connected to this and connected to foreign policy. And is he doing a good job? When I say he, the administration as a whole, doing a good job handling this crisis that may or may not have been of our doing, or we may or may not be complicit in. And from a military perspective, I think President Trump, knowing the heavy hand he used and how he used it, I think he either, it's my perspective that once this thing kicked off, I think he would have probably intervened really quick, fast, and with a heavy hand. I really do.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting because we talk about diplomacy and the importance of diplomacy. And President Trump was excoriated all the time for having a relationship with Vladimir Putin, right? He was,
Yeah.
but is that one of those things where you keep your friends close and your enemies closer?
Well, yeah, you're not supposed to be friendly with Putin, but you can be friendly with half those people in D.C., and I don't see a big difference sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean,
amen.
you know, never lived in Russia, but I lived in D.C., and I know what some of those folks are capable of. Listen, it's not about, when I vote for someone, I understand they have a job to do. And it's not about if Trump is taking a phone call with Putin, it's about the fact that he killed Soleimani. Mm-hmm. It's about the fact that his way of keeping us out of war was to be decisive in the moment before it began. And that, from a guy that served in 8 years during Iraq and Afghanistan, was a big deal for me, because I didn't see that in my time at war. Every president I served under wanted to claim victory, and I enjoyed his perspective on it, which was the best way to claim victory on a war is never get into it. And how do you never get into it? You show that you mean business from the beginning. I appreciated that. I don't know if you can do the same thing with nuclear power, but I know that when it comes to Ukraine, there are a lot of factors that could have been different. You know, maybe President Trump would have put 10,000 troops in Ukraine and told Putin, I dare you to come in. But when his military was stationed on the border, how would that have turned out? I don't think they'd be in Ukraine right now.
Right.
But then a lot of people, you know, it'd take a lot of flack for having troops in Ukraine. So sometimes as voters, we put our politicians in you can't win situations. But you know what? They asked for that job, and that's okay.
But there's a time that we need to stop this, and it's going to go too far. And when President Biden said at the beginning of this, we will put sanctions in if there is a minor incursion. And the sanctions didn't work, and they didn't put sanctions in until there was a major incursion. So how do we stop this at this point? Because we know that we can't just give them weapons. We can't look like we're entering this war in any way. Otherwise, maybe we are on World War III.
Well, the Cold War was World War III, number one.
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion, a lot of people died in that war, and it was a war that involved most of the world. I'm not a doomsdayer. We got people in this audience right now that remembers what it was like, and that's not to indict you on your age, but they remember what it was like when we were at war with half the Western world. We were turning in everything made of iron to win that war. And you know what? The idea, the social perspective that we're going to win no matter what we have now, didn't exist then. So when I take my hat off, it's to the people that fought that war. What we are in now is a state to where our comfort is being threatened. The convenience of things were being threatened. I looked at someone today and I said, you know, this formula shortage is a big deal, but we haven't always made formula. How did we do it before that? You know, like how did we get by before that? What is it about this country that allowed us to build it into what it is? I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it's because I don't have a great answer for you. I'm not going to stand here and pretend like, or sit here and pretend like I know how to win Ukraine or if we should be in it. But when I hear my government's going to send $40 billion into Ukraine, I want to know where that money's going. And when I have people that come on Fox like Brett Belikovich and they say that they are on the ground and have people on the ground, and the biggest sin our country is committing right now is that we're throwing things at this war and we haven't put anything in place to even know if those things are going to where they're supposed to go. That's the accountability that I do have perspective on.
That's right.
I can't tell you the right decision in Ukraine because I haven't dedicated my life to that issue. But what I can tell you is if taxpayer dollars and American lives are on the line, and they are whether we know it or not, I want to know that we have competent people doing it and that things are going to where they're supposed to be. And if the promise is made, there's a way to find out if that promise was kept. And that was the problem with the 20-year war that I fought in.
Yeah.
So I want to take it in a more positive direction, and I have a
appreciate
feeling
it.
that most people in the room would like to hear some positivity. So let's go back to 1979, 1980 in that area, and we had some of the same things that were happening, inflation out of control. You had a lot of things that look really, really similar to what's happening now, but that gave way to Ronald Reagan. Could that be what's happening? Could that be what's happening right now?
Yeah.
Is there a Reagan anymore? I don't know. I'll tell you, I was born in 1986. When you ask me about 1979, I just have to open up a book.
But I bet you know Ronald Reagan and you know what kind of man he was and what kind of president he was.
This is what I believe. I believe the pendulum swings both ways. I did read Edgar Allan Poe at one point. I believe the pendulum swings both ways. And I believe the harder we're being pulled to, and this is not an indictment on any particular type of person, but the harder you pull this country to change everything about its fabric, to appease a group of folks that represent a very small margin of who we are, whose identity is something that we don't fully understand, or whose sexuality is something that we don't see every day, the harder you pull folks into a direction to rewrite the country in a certain way, and do it in a way of do it, like it, or get out, rather than let's have a conversation, the harder that pendulum is going to swing the other way. And we're seeing that with things like what's happening in schools. So from a conservative point of view, there's a great clip y'all play of Neal Boortz talking about this, right?
Absolutely.
He says a conservative, a Republican, just won't buy the gun if he doesn't like the gun. But the Democrat's going to tell you, get rid of guns. That's what's going to happen, and people are going to get tired of that. So what did Ronald Reagan do? He sat down and he talked to people at their table rather than asking them to come out to an event like this. Really? That's what he did. He went into the homes of people and talked to them about the issues that they talked about at their kitchen table. We talk about minority groups. We talk about Hispanic vote or the African American vote. The majority of those folks are conservative in their home and at their table. They're Christian in their values. They vote Democrat for unions or for one specific issue. So what is the Republicans' job? Is to find out what that issue is and find out what our answer is to it. Right now, it's the economy. Right now, I drove a diesel up here, and thank God I can talk really well for a living and afford to do it, because 10 years ago I couldn't.
Yeah.
And my family still can't. What do you do about that? Because honestly, if you value my sexuality is one thing, but can I put money in my bank account is another. I think that in this country, the conservative point of view is really simple. Are you going to show up to work? Are you going to be a good friend? Are you going to be good to your family? Are you going to contribute to a community? If you can do those things, I really don't care what you look like, who you like, or how you do it.
Amen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to, women are probably going to be the most important factor in 2022. Mothers, wives, the women of 2022. We've seen what they did in Virginia, and now the left is distracting with an issue that is going to be, and fair enough, is going to be a really important topic for a lot of women in this country. What is more important to these women, though? Is it what's going on the table? Is it what's happening in their school and masking their children and taking away their education? Or is it the misleading of what this overturning of Roe V Wade is being billed as to them?
Listen, I'm about to be 36 years old, and if I haven't changed my mind on a few things by the time I'm 50, I'm doing it wrong. So even in my job at Fox, where you get to pontificate at the highest level of media, I don't back myself into a corner on something that I don't fully understand. So all I can do is give you my personal point of view. Number one, when you talk about women in the household, they've been the most important voting bloc for a long time. I'm glad they finally understand it.
Yeah.
Because the women in the household in my family, they make big decisions, and they do it on a daily basis. And so I think that what we have done in this country in telling women that you can't be a stay-at-home mom and still have dignity, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I can go to work every day. It's a pretty menial task. I don't know how to do all the things that my wife does in the house. I don't know how to do half of them. If she left tomorrow, none of my bills would be paid.
No.
I mean, it's easy to go earn the money, knowing how to spend it and keep up with it, to be task-oriented, to execute. Those are things that we need to bring dignity back. We need to bring dignity back to two things. One, raising children, and two, working with your hands.
Yeah.
The fact we live in a country that doesn't dignify being a welder, being a brick mason, working in construction, I don't understand that. I had this conversation with Mike Rowe, and the same thing goes for the women of the household that have chosen not to have a career. Many do both, and I don't, God bless you. I can't do one. But for the ones that have chosen not to, have chosen to raise their house, of course that's an important voting bloc. And I don't think they get swayed on how free they feel like they are to delete that part of their lives.
Yeah.
I really don't. My mom was 15 years old when she got pregnant with my sister. Essentially, she was woken up in the middle of the night, and her mom and dad said, "We got a brand new truck, and this guy is going to be your husband. Leave." It's a long time ago, but it's also a part of the country that's hopefully evolved a little bit since then. She got pregnant with my sister on her wedding night. It's the first time she had experienced that thing of her life. My dad gave my mom money, because they weren't married yet, and said, "You can get an abortion or buy a crib. It's up to you. I'm here right now." All right? My son, I found out about him when he was 3 months old. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, and I Marined it up. You know, you can interpret that how you want to. I got a call when he was 3 months old, said, "You got a son." Thank God I got that call.
Yeah.
So those are three examples in my own life that there were more than one option, and in my opinion, the right one was chosen. So when I look at this issue, it's very personal to me. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and what I wouldn't do for her is a short list. When I believe that when you have a baby, all your wants and desires become second to that child. It's your job now as animals to raise that human being. And I just want to get that perspective to other people. I don't know if Roe versus Wade is constitutional or not. I don't know. I'm not on the Supreme Court. You ain't gonna believe that. But I know as a human being, an American and a Georgian, I want everyone who is put in a position to have the blessing of a child to look at it as a blessing, and it's our job as a community to support them that way to where that's not even a choice they have to make.
There we go. Hard to argue with the logic and the wisdom of Joey Jones from Fox News Channel, everybody.
Thank y'all.
Joey, thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all.
Joey Jones.
Hey folks, Latham Sadler here. I'm so sorry I can't be there. I hate missing it because I love my 106 Extra family, but I'm happy to hear that Neal Boortz and the Kim are back up on the air. Folks, I'm running for United States Senate and hope to earn your support. I'm a proud native son of the state here in Georgia. I'm from Atlanta. My mom's from Bainbridge. Went to the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. And 9/11 happened while I was a student there. Changed all of our lives forever. In my case, it led me to joining the military, where I ended up serving as a Navy SEAL officer for 8 years on active duty. Had the privilege of serving in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And then my last assignment on active duty was in the Trump White House as the Director for Intelligence Programs, managing our Black Ops portfolio. Folks, the 3 tenets of my campaign are simple: security, liberty, and prosperity. Security, I'm gonna defend this country. Liberty, I'm gonna defend our Constitution. And prosperity, I'm gonna defend the American economy and the American worker. For starters, with security, folks, we gotta get serious about the competition with China. And I'm gonna get up there and reform our national security apparatus to put China back on their heels where they belong and bring American manufacturing out of China and home. Number 2, we need border security now. I mean, this can no longer be a conversation. We have 11 million undocumented folks in this country right now. It's actually more than that. That's just the official number. That's the exact population of our state here in Georgia. We're just under 11 million people. That's how many folks we have here. We have no idea who they are, where they came from, or what they're doing. We've got to secure our border. That's priority number 1 up there. Next, we have liberty. I'm going to defend our First Amendment right and our Second Amendment right all day, every day up there. And then finally, we have prosperity. I speak to small business owners every day that share they can't find workers, they can't compete with the government, and we've got to get the government out of our lives so that the American worker can prosper. So God bless y'all. Please vote for me. You can vote anytime between now and May 24th, and I promise you I will knock Raphael Warnock right out of that seat, and I will fight for you every day as your next United States Senator. Thank you. Hey, folks.
Hey, Boortz and Kimmer, just want to congratulate you guys and say it's an honor to share the airwaves with both of you on 106.3 Extra, the only and best conservative news and talk station in Atlanta. Welcome back, guys.
Hi, everyone. This is Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm so sorry to miss the town hall today, but Nancy Pelosi has us in session in Washington, D.C., so I'm here in Washington while you guys are having a great time down there in Georgia. Listen, I just want to tell everyone it's been the honor of my lifetime to represent Georgia's 14th district in Northwest Georgia. And I'm so excited that we've already started early voting again with Election Day on May 24th. And I'm really grateful and asking for everyone to vote for me and send me back to Washington to represent you as we fight against the Democrats and their communist agenda. You see, America was never supposed to end up this way, with over $30 trillion in debt, a wide open border that's being overrun every single day with human trafficking and deadly drugs like fentanyl. We're also seeing record high inflation and gas prices that are hurting everyday Americans, especially people in my district. Also, farmers are hurting. Farmers are barely hanging on with the cost of fuel and the inflation that is making it so difficult for them to just simply do their job that they love to do, and that is to provide food for every single American. You see, food security is national security, and this is something that we should care about and we should all be working to protect. Right now, we've got mothers that are crying in grocery stores looking for baby formula. This is proof that our government has fully led us to failure. While the Biden administration seems to keep their eyes in other countries and not at all at home, they don't care about Americans. They don't care about traditional family values. They only care about their woke progressive agenda that is driving us to serve China with the Green New Deal and America Last energy policies. I look forward to a Republican majority in the House next year where we can work hard to serve America, America first, bring back fiscal responsibility into Congress, and make Americans' hard-earned tax dollars work for them and not other countries. I just want to say thanks again, and I know you guys are having a great time today. It's been an honor of my lifetime to serve as Georgia's 14th Congresswoman, and I hope they send me back. Thanks, you guys. Have a great time.
We got to hear from Latham Sadler. Herschel, no. Unfortunately, Herschel didn't get his video in, but we also have another candidate who's running for Senate here in the state of Georgia. He's a good friend of his show. His wife, Janelle's here. Please welcome Kelvin King.
This guy is unbelievable. I'm telling you, he comes from a perspective that I can relate to as a guy that grew up in Northwest Georgia in Dalton, and the things that mattered to me were God, my family, America, and the state of Georgia. Those are the things that matter to me still to this moment, and he represents that in his own life. And it's such an honor to have you up here and as a guest tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Tug. Thanks, Scott, and thanks 106.3 for doing this tremendous event. And a lot of fired up patriots, so I'm happy to be here today.
Absolutely. Kelvin, I'm going to let them give you an applause here. You know, this has been an amazing year to really jump into politics, but why don't you talk about exactly why you decided? I mean, you have a successful construction company, you have a wonderful family. It's a really hard road to go down to get into politics. Why did you feel you needed to jump in this race this year?
Well, we need to beat Raphael Warnock. I mean, that's the only reason why I jumped into this race. And frankly, I've lived my version of the American dream and my mother's American dream. Some of you all know my story. But I think that American dream is under attack right now. I believe that we see a lot of mismanagement in our government, poor leadership. I believe that the American dream is comprised of freedom, opportunity, and American exceptionalism. What you're seeing right now is our freedom being reduced, opportunities are being limited, and American exceptionalism is almost a bad word these days. And that's not what we're about. That's why I jumped into this race, because I know that I have a formula. My wife and I, we have a formula to win. You can ask me what the formula is later. But we have a formula to win this race against Raphael Warnock, and we jumped into this race to defeat Raphael Warnock.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's get into the formula, because that's a key ingredient. I think everybody out here wants to know, how would Kelvin King unseat Raphael Warnock and then return America to the greatness that we love representing the state of Georgia?
Well, just a quick background. My wife and I, we've been involved with politics for quite some time. She was involved with the Republican Party for a while, and she worked on our prior senator's campaign. And when we lost this race to Raphael Warnock, we were trying to figure out who can we get behind to win the seat back. So we whiteboarded it. Some of y'all know me in my business ways. I love whiteboarding, but we whiteboarded the attributes that it would take to find the candidate to defeat Raphael Warnock. And the winning candidate needed to be born and raised in Georgia. Warnock is. They need to be a veteran, over 700,000 veterans here in Georgia. They need to be a business person. I mean, I really only want business people in these seats in Washington, D.C., someone that's created jobs,
absolutely,
that knows how to make a payroll.
That's had actual responsibility.
Right, exactly. And we thought someone who could galvanize the rural and urban sides of Georgia. We need the entire Republican electorate to win this seat back. We need to galvanize both sides of Georgia. And we thought someone like myself who could speak towards the social issues. I'm a black male candidate that could cut through and disarm the attacks that we know we're going to get from the Raphael Warnock, Stacey Abrams ticket.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, it is.
That's going to be the candidate to win. And I asked my wife, who do you know that's on the bench? Who do you know that we're grooming to be able to defeat this guy in this climate? And my wife said, baby, you're the only one that I know that check off all those boxes.
Right.
So
no pressure.
No pressure, you got this.
So, I mean, that's pretty much how it happened. And, I talked to my staff. They gave me the thumbs up. I talked to our family. They gave us the thumbs up. That we got down on our knees and we asked the Lord to open the doors if this is your will. We know we have the winning formula in the plan, but if it's not your will, it won't happen. And that's what we did. And that's what we've been doing from day one. We're the first candidate to announce in this race. And we've campaigned in every county in the state of Georgia, all 159 counties, done over 350 public appearances, not including media. And we are showing Georgians that we are the hardest working campaign and candidacy out here. And we proved it because we have pictures of every county sign.
That's right.
In our
I've seen
campaign
him on Facebook.
office.
I've legitimately, he's got it's impressive. I've never seen anything quite like it. Y'all are hustling like nobody's business.
Yeah, and the good news is that we've learned that the Trump endorsed candidates are 34-1, and a lot of them up in the north, they've hit every county, and that they said that was the success, is to get out in front, and especially against someone like Herschel Walker, who right now has a really big lead in the polls. You're getting in front of the face, so that's a good thing. I do want to bring it to, listen, this is one of the most important subjects that we're talking about today, which is the Roe v. Wade. And this is something that, as a state senator, you're probably going to have to deal with, because I don't think this fight is going to be over for a long time. What do you think right now, what we can do to, talk about how important it is to protect the right to life in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important, and it's a very personal topic for me. I was born to a 15-year-old mother back in 1974, the year after Roe v. Wade. In 1974, the day I was born was actually a Sunday. It was today. May 12th was a Sunday, so I was born on Mother's Day. But I was unplanned, clearly. But I just thank God and my parents for seeing value in my life. And, fortunately, it worked out. We had some struggles growing up. My father started doing drugs, and domestic violence occurred in my home. But, my grandmother stepped up to the plate and helped us out, gave us food and money, and I was able to finish high school with honors and got an appointment to the U.S. Air Force Academy.
Let's go.
And thank you.
It's such an honor to be able to go to the service academy.
Yeah, and I played football too. So
let's go.
Herschel's not the only football player in this race.
That's
all
right.
There
you go. That's right.
But and served proudly. But in terms of this leak, I think it was planned, and it's something that I really want Republicans to really look at, open their eyes. We win on economic issues and policy topics. We win when it comes to foreign policy topics. We win on these domestic pocketbook issues. We win on foreign policy, but where we typically trip up is on the social issues. Like we don't have great messaging when it comes to like voting rights. We don't have great messages when it comes to like abortion or disparities amongst communities of people. And that's really a strength of our campaign. And you see this leak was very timely, right? Because they were losing on the economy. The Democrats are losing on the economy.
On everything.
They're losing on everything. But and they also know that the suburban woman vote is a key vote for them. And they were losing because education was really a win for us. Well, the leak on abortion popped up. And that's a very divisive issue. It's a personal issue. I believe that is why the leak occurred. So it's incumbent upon Georgians to look at this thing with clear eyes. We've got to have a solid candidate in this race. We've got to have someone that's a good foreign policy guy. We've got to have, I think, a veteran. We've got to have someone who understands the economy and how to create jobs. But to win against the Warnock-Abrams ticket in this climate, and the Democrats are pumping all this Soros money into Abrams, and they're going to outraise us. To win against something like that, we've got to have a candidate that can stand toe-to-toe with Raphael Warnock and disarm the attacks that we know we're going to get on these social issues like voting rights, like abortion. There's no other candidate that can talk about this as authentically as I can.
No, that's right.
And with credibility.
And it's interesting to me because the Democrats would divide you and I up immediately. Yeah. They would say we shouldn't get along, we shouldn't talk. But when you and I talk, we talk about our faith. We talk about things that matter to us, and magically they're identical.
Yes,
they're identical. Those issues are identical.
Yeah, the Democratic Party. I would say all Americans. We all agree on three basic things, right? We all agree that we want to make a living for our families. We want to have a good job, be able to create a career. We want to be able to educate our kids the way we want them to be educated, our choices and decisions. We want them to have an opportunity that's greater than ours. And lastly, we want to be safe. We want to live in safe communities. These are three things that we all want. But it takes a unique candidate to be able to message that with a Republican wrapping around that hits in the communities and that can go around these gatekeepers, these race hustlers, and these poverty pimps like Raphael Warnock. I got that phrase from Thomas Sowell, by the way. It's not my phrase.
That's a great person to get the quote from.
Yeah.
What a wise man.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Kelvin King. Kelvin, thank you so much for everything you do. Good luck. Keep going. Keep working that county.
Thanks so much, y'all.
That's right. Learn more about Kelvin.
If you get there, beat up.
At kelvinking.com. All right, the train keeps rolling, Rhino.
Yeah, the train keeps rolling. Carlos Medina is one of our good friends, a friend that works over at 680 The Fan. You might know him as Front Office Los. He knows numbers better than anyone else. Front Office Los, ladies and gentlemen.
Carlos
Medina.
So it was interesting when Lowe's started talking with us, he had always put together draft boards, and his NFL picks were almost spot on. What was it this year, like the first 10 you had exactly right?
Let's see. I had Trayvon Walker #1.
Go Dogs.
And I think after the first 9 picks, my top 8 were off the board.
Wow.
So put a little work in there.
So he does a pretty good job with sports, and then we got to talking about politics one day, and then we found out we're kind of on the same page, and we got to start talking about COVID-19 and some of the things that the math just didn't add up anymore.
Well, let me start right here because I'm a bit of a data weirdo. And I say that with a lot of pride. As much as I can say, love this country, very conservative, I can also say I'm a data weirdo. That's who I am. I'm somebody who I got an undergrad in information systems. I went and got a master's in global business and an emphasis in statistics. By the time we hit December 19th, I started doing radio shows and podcasts and saying there's a lot of weird stuff that we're seeing out of China, and most notably, we're seeing out of South Korea. And so that kind of got the whole ball rolling as to, well, let me get as much information as I can, because as the months moved along, I was telling these guys, we got something coming, and I think from a political perspective, it's going to change our lives.
Yeah, I remember you were doing the audio fun bag with Brian Hoyt, and it was kind of a joke at the beginning, and we heard that somebody ate a bat in China, and, you know, we were kind of joking back and forth because we didn't think that was going to become anything, and you said, nobody eats a bat. Nobody's eating a bat in China. There's more to this story. And that's when I knew, okay, Carlos is about to dig into something and really get into it. You, from the beginning, didn't believe it really came from a wet market.
There's so much of this stuff that still bothers me. And I think for a lot of us in this room who are impacted by all this, it probably bothered you too. You felt like there was something weird about all of this. And for me, one of the things that I remember getting into, and this was basically February of 2020, I started looking into some of the South Korean data, and their survival rate at the time was 99.6. And so I said, okay, that seems like that's a pretty good survival rate. Well, by 2 weeks later, we're shutting down in the state of Georgia. And we wrecked our own economy. And we changed so many of our lives, and the impact that this had on our children and our grandchildren, and the problems that we saw with depression and drug use and everything else along these lines. And I'm sitting here going, listen, the South Koreans are telling us 99.6. Now what we found out, 99.7. Now that's still, again, a serious issue, but we changed a lot of our lives in this state over something it was a lot of fear, a ton of fear.
It's one of those things where now looking back, we did the wrong thing completely. Like, we didn't get anything right that I can tell.
Well, this is what happens when you're afraid, and all of us were. We were all very concerned, and we were concerned for our communities, our families, and everybody else. What the issue we ran into is we let fear change us. And that's what I'm thinking moving forward. I refer to it as the new right. For a long time, we have been altered by what we think the other side thinks of us. Stop doing that. Don't care about what they say. Do not care about what they say. We bring up conservative, and we say that thing. And there's a portion of society that has made us feel weird about saying that about yourself. Conservative is compassion, people. It's what it is. You are interested in everyone doing well. You want to make sure it's not just about your community. It's your friends. It's your family. There's no creed or color or anything else. It's just about We want to make sure that we're all doing well. That's conservatism. Okay, that's what it comes right down to. And so do not let the other side dictate to you what you think about yourself any longer. Do not let it happen.
Yeah, don't let it happen.
Such a great point. Because, and it goes back to, sorry to interrupt, but it just goes back to your family, your faith, God, and country. Man, that's what conservatism is. I mean, that's just such a great example of that.
Well, let me just tell you this. So, again, my name's Carlos Medina, and my mother wanted to name me Andrew, okay? I am named after a 22-year-old private who didn't make it home from Vietnam. That's who I'm named after, Carlos Medina, who passed away serving his country. I am the grandson of a man who brought home 2 Bronze Stars from World War II. He never talked about it.
Let's go.
He never talked about it. We would try and get him over near the, we'd be hunting and we'd be like, hey, will you tell us about it? It's like, he never talked about it. That kind of love of country and love of your family and your faith, that started early in my house. And that can be done. Like, that's how I am with my daughters. I have 2. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I'm constantly telling them about their family history. I say, you come from warrior's blood, but make sure that you take care of the people around you. Serve your country, serve your community. That's what warriors do.
Yeah, pulling in and doing all that. Let's talk a little bit more about this COVID, because there's a lot that is going on behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't even thinking about at this point. And we talked about it a little bit earlier when we did our show. But one of the things that we just heard is now $20 billion more is going to be taken out of our money to give us tests, to give us vaccines, because guess what's coming in the fall and the winter? And it's funny because
the timing, does it sound
November
peculiar?
8th, we're going to all of a sudden have drop boxes put out because we're supposed to be afraid of the oncoming pandemic again in the winter. Talk about the distraction. Talk about why they continue to not let this crisis go to waste.
Well, it's empowering is what it comes down to. The fact that you can create drop boxes all around the state and you can play games with an election. That's what it comes down to. I think the part that bothers me, perhaps, one of the things the most, is that there were certain studies that were all looked at around the world. For instance, the Israelis had great data. Like, their data is who I went to. I didn't go to our own CDC. I would go to the Israelis and also the British. They had the best data in the world. One of the things that the Israelis had was there's a 19 times less likely chance of a bad outcome if your vitamin D level was high, above 25. And so that was one of the things that, as a federal government, we should have had all of our leaders telling us basic protections. These do work. Look at what this data is. But we don't do it because it's empowering for them to keep people afraid. That's the reason why I think we're going to get some more games in November.
No question about it. And you're starting to see it again in Vermont and Puerto Rico. We talked about this earlier on the air. They're the most vaccinated, yet they're having the biggest issues because they don't have any natural immunity in their community.
We're also seeing it in Denmark. And
Denmark
one of the
too,
things I bring up is that we have the benefit of time, that we know more than we did a year ago. We know more than we did 2 years ago. And we'll know more about what's going on probably in a year from now. What we are going to have to wonder about is, because we now have some of the insurance company data and some of the all-cause mortality rates are up in a crazy way. Did we do something to our immune systems? Because you're seeing it in these states. And so, again, we don't know. But hopefully we end up paying attention. But again, basic, early protections are probably going to be your best thing moving forward.
We obviously know that this virus is now almost like a cold or a bad flu sometimes for some of the people, and we understand that, but we are seeing it come down, be easier for us. But we're also seeing people who are boosted, vaccinated, Democrats, all wearing masks, getting this virus over and over. We heard that Johnson & Johnson, the FDA says, hey, no more on that. Why is everybody's immunity going down when they're getting these shots?
We don't know. And I will tell you this from a personal level. My father is a 69-year-old man, cancer survivor. Cancer was dormant for 5-6 years. Got his 3rd booster, and the numbers jumped on him. Now, not to a level where we were extremely alarmed, but it made him very nervous. And so we wonder, and we should be talking about this stuff. Is there effect to your T cells long term? Do we have to worry about this stuff? Now, again, I would prefer the answer to be no, all the way across the board. But we also can't say with certainty who this happens to and who it doesn't. We just don't know.
It's a frightening thing that we've all been through, but I feel like that you and us, and we're all past, we're done with COVID. Is there anybody that is not just completely done with this? There's not a chance in the world that anybody's going to tell me I'm getting a mask or I'm going to have to wear That's exactly right, Kimber. That's right. Nobody's telling. I'm done with all of that, and I know y'all are too, and I'm so glad that you're here. Carlos Medina, front office Los.
Thank you, Los. Check out the shirt.
Yeah, look at that. I don't know if you've seen this or not. The old Dr. Fauci's a clown.
Yeah, we're trying to do a promotion where we're going to get a bunch of clown noses, and they're authorized by the CDC, and see how many liberals we could get to replace their mask with this new breathing apparatus.
That's exactly right. We got some videos from the folks who are running for governor in the state of Georgia for you.
Hey everybody, Governor Brian Kemp here. First of all, just want to congratulate Neal Boortz and the Kimmer on being back on Conservative Talk Radio 106.3. Second, I want to apologize I'm not there in person, but I did want to just ask for your vote and your support. When I ran in 2018, I promised you I'd put hard-working Georgians first ahead of the status quo and the politically correct. I also promised that I would do exactly what I told you I would do when I was campaigning. Well, I've done that as your governor. Whether it's going after violent criminals and street racers in the city of Atlanta, passing the largest state income tax cut in state history, historic teacher pay raises, and many other things, not to mention the great economy we have in our state. I've done what I told you I would do. But make no mistake, we're in a fight for the soul of our state. And I promise you, if you honor me again on being your Republican nominee, my family and I will work hard every day to make sure that Stacey Abrams is not your governor or your next president. God bless you, and please turn out the vote before May 24th.
Hey guys, this is David Perdue. I'm so sorry I can't be there with you today, but I wanted to take a moment to congratulate Neal Boortz and the Kimmer on being back on the air at XTRA 106.3. You guys are the best. We're running around the state today encouraging everyone to get out and vote. The only reason I'm running for governor is to save our state. I believe our governor has divided our party. He sold out conservatives, and he cannot pull us together to win in November. If we get this wrong, Stacey Abrams is going to be our next governor. Georgia is at a tipping point. To protect our values, we have to vote. I'm proud to have President Trump's endorsement. With his help and your vote, we will get criminals off our streets. We will get the woke mob out of our schools. We will eliminate the state income tax, and we will actually prosecute voter fraud. Thank you guys so much for all you do. God bless you.
Hey, I'm Candace Taylor, and I'm running in the gubernatorial primary for Georgia governor. And I just wanted to jump on here and tell you that I'm so excited about Neal Boortz and the Kimmer being back on the radio, and I cannot wait to hear them. It's going to be awesome. I am from South Georgia. I'm an educator. I've been an educator for 19 years, and I'm one of the people. I'm one of you. And you know what? We have a massive grassroots movement that is growing so quickly. We're polling very high, higher than one of the twin rhinos. I know y'all both heard from them, Kemp and Perdue, but they're one and the same. They're the establishment, and because of Kemp's failure in the 2020 election, I'm primarying him, and I'm going to win. And we're going to take the state of Georgia back to the people. We have a bottom-up government, and we are going to run this place like it's bottom-up, of, by, and for the people, not with big corporations and a bunch of elitists on both the Republican and the Democrat side. We're going to run this government like we the people decide, and we're going to put Jesus first. My slogan is Jesus, guns, and babies, and morality over money. And we're going to put Jesus first in Georgia, and we're going to protect the Constitution. I'm so sick and tired of every politician compromising on their oath of office and not doing the will of the people and not upholding what they swore to God they would uphold. And we're going to change that. We're going to bring this government back to the people. So I would ask that you would check me out at CandaceTaylor.com. I would love to have your support. We're 2 weeks out from May 24th, which is the Republican primary, and we're going to win. And we're going to be in a runoff. And come June 21st, I'm going to be the Republican nominee, and Stacey Abrams doesn't stand a chance. So please join me at CandaceTaylor.com. I would love to have your support. I'm the one you've been waiting for.
There we go.
All right.
All three of the folks that are running for governor took the time to send a message to you directly. And we want to thank y'all for coming out. We're going to take a brief intermission, and then we're going to get the party rocking. We want to really thank the folks who brought this and made this happen, and that includes Atlanta Safe House, Three Bridges Financial Group, Painting Plus, True Prep, and Governor's Gun Club here in Kennesaw. Y'all get some refreshments, hit the bathroom. And up next, Neal Boortz and the Kimmer here on Extra 106.3 at the Town Hall.
Thank you, guys.